Hi, guys. Hello. How are we all? Are we excited? I'm excited. I'm very, very excited. I've been scribbling away at my notes. Oh, I managed to pen myself already. That's a great start to the live show. I've been scribbling away at my notes all day today because I was taking notes as I was reading, obviously, like for plot points and stuff like that. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what did you mean when you said what did you mean when you wrote that person's name with a bunch of exclamation points and then a word that means nothing to anyone? Like, what are you doing? Hello, hi, hello. 3 hours left in the audiobook. I'm glad it's a reread. And you're not going to have to like bow out of the spoilery bits. Obviously, as I always say, it is no spoilers right now, my friends. Obviously, the further we get in to this series in general, the less it's going to be able to be no spoilers at the start of these discussions. But I do have obviously like some questions for you that are like chill and aren't gonna majorly upset anybody who hasn't finished, but that is a good question. Has everybody finished? I finished literally this morning. So I, in my infinite wisdom, try and put the books off until like the very last minute so that I'm finishing them for the discussions and they're very fresh in my mind and stuff. And then I got completely absorbed in my reread of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and like I just pieced out. Like every time I tried to read the book I was like, but so yeah, I have finished, but just like right on time. Hello, and anxious to have admin and too much coffee. That's a vibe. Hello, everybody. Hi. I love this. I cut my nap short for this discussion. Hello. Oh, that makes me really happy. I have also been looking forward to it. I am gonna wait. We'll start talking like non-spoiler questions in a sec. But I just want to wait, give like people 10 minutes to pitch up just in case they haven't got the YouTube notification yet, don't realize it's live yet. Hello. Roadworks and a work deadline nearly stopped me. No, curses. Being thwarted at all turns. Hello. I do love that music. That music makes me very, very happy. Yes. If I could leave it like quietly playing in the background while we talk, I absolutely would. Hello. Have I finished the book? Absolutely not. Fair. It's been 2 weeks. I've probably forgotten the whole I mean, a lot happened in this book, so it is reasonable if like some of it has gone because a lot happened in this book. I'm 2 books behind, but it's a reread, so I'm here anyway. That's fine. Hello. Literally finished it an hour ago. Yeah. What is it with us and deadlines? It's almost like as people in the book community, we don't like deadlines. Hi, hello. Finished on the 29th of June. Somebody is overachieving. Oh shit. I'm only joking. When I just look back at my notes, I think they must have been written by a different person. I feel like I switch personalities sometimes when I'm reading these books and I'm like scribbling away at my notes because I just had the word, and like we'll get into this in a minute, but like I just had the word gender. And I was like, I know that that's associated with some other thought in here somewhere, but why is it there? Like, why is it there in the middle of the page? I'm fine with being spoiled. I've been seriously neglecting my reading time. That's okay. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we just have to indulge in other hobbies. Finished it on Saturday, a week later. Fair enough. Yep. Anybody who finished it literally not within the last couple of hours or like today is doing really well as far as I'm concerned. I finished it nearly 7 months ago. Yeah, and just telling on Beth started on the next one like way early. I'll be starting on the next one next week because we know how much I love the next book in this series. Also, I'm a dum-dum and I forgot to cat claw, get rid of that before it stabs me later. I was a dum-dum and I forgot to go and get the illustrated version so I could show you the illustrations in it, because that'll be the last time I'll be able to do this, because there's no illustrated versions of the rest of the books, which is really, really sad. But I will go and grab that soon. Crying over the audiobook while doing a puzzle. I did cry. I did definitely cry at the end of this. Need to read more, yes. Haven't even started Royal Assassin. Okay, Nikki. When the spoiler thing goes down, there's a lot that happens in this book on the 18th. Very nice. I didn't get the notification. I was worried I was late. No, don't worry. You are absolutely fine. We have literally just got started. You are all good. About 189 pages, and of Assassin's Question was crazy. Yeah, that's okay. It looks like quite a few of you have either just finished or are like close to finishing. So I will say, when the spoilery thing goes down, there are going to be like massive spoilers for things that happen pretty much from the second, third, like from 2/3 of the book onwards, that are just like necessities to discuss. So just be mindful if you don't want to get spoiled, like seriously. I know that doesn't bother everybody though. I read these 3 books at the end of the last year, and now I'm up to book 2 in the second Fitz trilogy. Yeah, so also again, that brings up a good like reminder as well, just a reminder to everybody. If you have read further on like I have, please try and not spoil anybody for future books in the series, because of course there are a lot of ties back, and there are more Fitz series where there, you know, is a lot more information later on. So gently, finished it on the 18th. Nice to go a week break in the second book. Yeah, that's fair. This one could have done with a brain break for me as well. Annotating on reread. Oh, that's a commitment. That is a commitment. Finished that a month ago, but I'm scarred. I'm good, but I'm scarred. Hello, welcome in. So what kept me going through Monday? Oh, bless. Has Monday been Mondaying for you guys? It definitely has been Mondaying for me. I finished a couple of weeks ago, but I took so many notes just this morning. Yep. Yeah, Sarah also skipped ahead. Bad people. Okay. Does anyone know? Let's have a look. It was first published in 1997. Yeah. So, okay. In the non-spoiler portion of this, I do have a couple of questions. So my first question is, what did you rate this? And overall, what have your ratings been? So for me, book 1 is a 4.5 star, book 2 is a 5 star, and book 3, this one, hey, look at me knowing directions. This one is a 4 star. Nobody's surprised. I'm very clear about this from the beginning. Out of the whole series, Royal Assassin is my favorite book, and it takes a lot to top it for me. Like it's going to take a lot to knock that one off that top slot. So yeah, tell me what your ratings are for them. It's 4.5. Well, the other 2 were 5 stars. Interesting. I have a strong suspicion when we're doing spoilers that a lot of people are going to have opinions about why this one didn't quite get 5 stars. All the stars. It's my favorite of the children. Contrary Mary, as usual. Yeah, I'll be surprised if everybody's 5 stars. 4.5 is a teeny bit repetitive, but overall 5 star time. Nice. Royal Assassin was only Ocean, am I judging you for that? Book 1 was only a 3.5 for you, Sophie. I love the way that this has progressed for you. That's a very cool progression. 3 out of 5 for all of them. I find the introductions long, but the endings save it. That's interesting, Fiona, because my feelings are completely the opposite. I feel like sometimes Hobbs wrap-ups can be very rushed. Book 1 and 2 are 5 stars, and book 3 is a 4.5. 4.5 enough. Oh, went down for Eleanor. Went down. Everybody who's jumping into the comments now, who's joining the stream are going to be firmly like, is this a cipher? Is this a code? Like, are these some mystical numbers? Like, I rated them all 5 stars the first time. I assume it will hold through. Oh, Kate, you warned me. Why was Royal Assassin 3.75? Why? I put this one at a 4. Royal Assassin was 5, and it's also my favorite. Yeah, Tiff gets it. The first one was a 5, but not like an oh my god 5. Yeah, I get that as well. I feel that in my soul. And I just went full all the 5s. Everything is all the 5s. 4.5 for all 3. Nice. It's a 3. Book 2 is a 3.4, and I'm enjoying Assassin's Quest more. So interesting. So for you, Chloe, it's going uphill. That is interesting. Assassin's Quest is Ocean. I'm surprised because I thought you were going to have opinions about this one. 4, 5, and a 3.5. I still liked, but it was my least favorite. Okay. Very interesting. It can also be wrong going off what I think and not double checking. Okay, fair. It's a solid 4.5 for book 1 and 4 for books 2 and 3. This is an interesting range. 5, 4, and a 5. When I think back, my enjoyment of the series of a whole feels like a 5. I feel like this is a very legitimate thing for most of us, is when you look back at it, because there's so many things that happen in these books, right? So it's really hard, when you're reading them through for the read along, it's okay because we're having these discussions, and so you're kind of breaking down the things that happen, but it's so hard to delineate the things, because I for sure thought a thing that happens in this book already happened in Royal Assassin, and my remembering of it, and then I was like, oh wait, that doesn't make any sense. So it's hard to keep the timeline in your head. I'm not quite done, but it's a solid 4.75. It did go down a bit. Okay. Yep. Keep your fave position open until you read the No. Nothing's gonna. Royal Assassin is the Verity book, Gail. Nothing's going to knock that off for me. Nothing's going to have more Verity in it. I'm the same, Sophie. 3.5, 4, and a 5. I love this. I do find the recaps in the beginning of the books annoying. It's useful if you're reading a year apart, but I find it slightly repetitive. That's a good question then, before we go on any further. Who is finding that the format of Fitz telling you this story? And so obviously Fitz is in the future. He's older when he's actually writing this stuff down. We know that from the very first book. So who is finding the bits at the start difficult to read? Because obviously this is a very typical fantasy thing, right? I mean, Tolkien did it, Eddings did it, George R. R. Martin does it in a couple of different books, and obviously Robin Hobb does it. I think Ursula Le Guin also does it. So quite a lot of fantasy books have that little info dumpy section at the start that lots of people skip. I'm pretty sure Wheel of Time does it in a couple of books, where they tell you and then this happened, and then this happened, and so that's why we're here. But I find it more interesting the way that Hobb does it, because Fitz is telling you about things in the future. You're getting a little bit more information, I think, than you would get if it was just an omniscient narrator, or if it was a book of historical record or something like that you were reading. Oh no, Ella! A 2.5. That's so depressing, babe. Verity is a 6-star. You're correct. Just Verity on his own. The memory of a goldfish, so I never mind a recap. Short-tail memory, yep. I like the chapter beginnings, but this book was just too long overall. We're definitely going to get to that one. I love the chapter beginnings. I don't always pick up on world building and context during the book, so I like having it laid out. I also like them for this reason. Occasionally the politics will get a bit, not so much in this series, but occasionally politics will get a bit murky for me, and I'm a little bit like, wait, no, what? I think that's because I'm a reader who doesn't like to actively solve the mystery as the mystery is happening. So yeah, definitely for that reason. I love it. I need all the recaps. Yeah. Didn't love it, don't mind it either. Sometimes it's useful because my memory is awful. Yeah, I like the framing so much more in a reread, having known older fits, but I didn't love it first read. That's interesting, Eleanor. That's a very interesting comment. I find with a rehash, it's not overdone. Yeah, it blended well into the story. I agree. Am I the only one that's indifferent to Barry? I think you might be, Amanda. He's definitely a bit of a fan favourite. He definitely is. The summary and a sneak peek. Yeah, that's it. Because it is also a sneak peek. I think if it was just a summary, it would really annoy me. Didn't mind it at the start. It's the recaps and the stuff we have read is just annoying. Yeah. Yep. I love the recaps. I'm getting really attached to the style of writing. Oh, I love that. It's a very nostalgic style of writing, right? And I think that is partially because we know that it fits his writing in the future. And it does, there's definitely a tone shift when we get to Live Ship Traders, because Live Ship Traders, just for the record, if you guys don't know, it shifts to multi-POV. And we're not getting a first-person point of view the way that we do, but not the way that we get it from Fitz. And we're not just in this one person's brain the entire way through it. And so I think it stops feeling a little bit nostalgic as it goes on. But it definitely, the Fitz trilogy definitely feel very nostalgic. I'm going to pretend I neither see the rating starting with 2 or the very indifference. Yeah, exactly. I love your opinions. I just don't want them. I like the rehash. Yep. Loving the format. Reminds me, name of the... Yes, definitely. Well, technically, Robin Hobb done it first. So technically that's a borrowed style, I think. I found them repetitive. Yep. Also the one talked about Chade in the past. I was damn scared. Yeah. That's the problem though, isn't it? Because we know that we're so far in the future where Fitz is now. The reality of the fact that we're so far in the future means that we already know that some people aren't with us anymore. We already know that timeline wise that just doesn't, it's not a thing. So it is scary for that reason, because you are kind of like, well, I'm getting attached to characters that I know. It's not like Red Rising or something like that, where it's like don't fall, or like Game of Thrones, where it's like don't fall in love with anybody because everybody's gonna die in some horrible way. It's more just like the reality is we're falling in love with adult characters, some of whom are much older when we meet them. And now we know Fitz is an old man. So some of those people aren't there anymore. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Verity's a bit dumb at times, but I love him. Yeah, I mean, I think, like we said last time around, Verity is very much a soldier, right? So he was also the first one to come straight out and be like, yeah, like chivalry should have been doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. I hate this. I'm not good at this, but I'm kind of doing my best. I'm nervous about the live ships. I'm so attached to Fitz. I can't imagine the world without him. Luckily, Sophie, again, without any spoilers for the live chips. I would like to have live chips right now. No spoilers for the live ships at all, but it's still the same world. So there are definitely mentions of things that have happened in the Fitz books, and the politics carry on, and the repercussions of things that have happened in the Fitz books definitely carry on through the live ship books. So I feel like it's not as abrupt a transition into just like new characters in a new place as it can be with other fantasy series. Needed help in the talking to women department. No, felt nostalgic on first read. On reread, it's the coziest thing imaginable. Yeah, well, I sobbed my eyes out. That's so valid. The coziest series ever. While you sob your eyes out. So my next question, I guess, before my last question, well, maybe my second last question, before we finish the non-spoiler section, is how do you feel now that you have finished a trilogy? Like, genuinely, just like, how do you feel now that you have accomplished, like, as a reading human, now that you've accomplished reading? I mean, I don't even know how many pages it is, because like Assassin's Quest nearly 900 pages, right? Well, 800 and a half, I guess, depending on which edition you're reading in. and Royal Assassin comes in at about 600 pages, and then I don't know what the first one comes in at. But like, how do you feel now that you've done the first trilogy, especially for people whose this is your first big fantasy trilogy? I was nervous for Liveship 2. Live was the first one with no weight, so I started early, and accidentally read all 3 last month. Obsessed. Oh, I love that for you, Tiff. Also, I feel like, obviously I've said this quite a few times, and like we all know my opinion in this area, that the Liveship trilogy is my least favorite trilogy in the whole series, or my least favorite series in the whole series, because like Rainwild is a 4-book series. But I do think that if you like Rainwild, you're not so keen on Liveships, and if you love Liveships, you're maybe not going to be so keen on Rainwild. So like, I don't take my hatred of Ship of Magic as you're going to hate Ship of Magic. A couple of the characters especially do not work for me in Ship of Magic, but I love the plot. So like, don't take the fact that I'm not as keen on it as definitely going to be a thing that you're not going to be as keen on it. I've enjoyed these, love the characters. Find the pacing short. Oh, unsure as to where you carry on. Oh, Fiona, that's so sad. Oh, Fitz just did a big yawn. My Fitz is right here, guys. Here he is. Hey, Fitz. You were looking at me a second ago, you little rat. You're so grumpy. He's the grumpiest cat ever. He really should have been called Burrich. He's the grumpiest cat alive. Personally, someone who loves Fitz needs a break from the depression of being in Fitz's head. Yep. So I like the way the breakup while still being in the same world. Yes, I get that. I totally get that. Doesn't feel like an ending. The whole series is kind of fixed unit in my mind. Yeah, that's fair. Like the whole realm of the Elderlings, it feels like you need to finish the whole thing before you can say you're finished. I'm nervous for the future, but I'm glad I'm reading these. That makes me so happy. Finishing trilogies always makes me wonder why I don't read more yet, but most series don't grab me. Like, yeah, it's a very unique series, isn't it? Like, I very rarely find that I'm as moved as I am by these books. 438, 678, and 854. Thank you, Ocean. You're doing the Lord's work right now. I feel like I'm getting too old for series. Oh, but okay, but like you say, Amanda, like it's very whatever. If that's no longer like that's a lifestyle choice, you know. Emotionally exhausted. I love that they even got capitals like I am emotionally. I have finished this trilogy and I am emotionally exhausted. I feel a bit accomplished, but I have so much more to go. But you've done it though. You've done it. And that feeling of accomplishment just goes on the more that you read. Super excited because the whole reason to want to read the series is because I wanted to read the Liveship. Oh, Marina, that's excellent for you. Yeah, there you go. For anyone worried, Beth and Sarah are loving it a lot. Not a big fantasy girly, but officially see the appeal of inhabiting this world for this many pages. Yes, come to the dark side. My brain broke. Big part reading a whole trilogy in 1 month. Yeah, you caught up quick, girl. I am impressed. Missing Fitz in that part of the world so far in Madship, but I'm still so early in the grand scheme of that trilogy. Yes, and I think by the time that we get to the second Fitz trilogy, a lot more things will make sense. Now that it's completely done, I'm kind of sad. We'll get this trilogy finished, but also because we won't see Fitz again for a while. Yes, a good while, but you know, it's kind of a good thing. Kind of a good thing by the end of this book, I think. Accomplished for sure. It's been on my TBR for so long. Oh, Sophie, I'm really glad that you're loving the live shows too. Grumpy Fitz, but he's so grouchy. The grouchiest cat alive. Feels like he's just at the start of a marathon. It feels like not accomplished. I am pacing myself. I am a distance runner, not a sprinter. Felt like I must have finished. Excited to continue already. Looking forward to a reread. Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to rereading some of these. Hi! Finished the second book and I'm still reeling. Oh, starting the third today. Yay! It's so exciting. You're going to be able to join in for the next live show. That's so good. Feeling happy that I pushed through and grateful to continue the Fitz. Oh, almost DNF partway through Royal Assassin. There's so many things. Okay, I think it's time to officially say that we are going to go into the spoiler section of this discussion. So if you have not read the end of this book, you do not want to be spoiled, this is your warning. We are now going to move on to the spoiler section where there's a lot of things to talk about. So if you are popping out, we will see you next time, and I am very excited to see you join us for the next one. If not, brace yourselves. Spoilers are coming. Okay. So my first question was, how did we all feel about the resurrection? How did we feel? Because obviously this book starts very dramatically, like very incredibly dramatically, with like a good old resurrection and Burrich breaking some rules of his that he has had so far through the entire series. Like so far, Burrich has been very clear about his thoughts about whip magic and what it should be used for, and yet when it comes to his boy, it's like weird but very fascinating. It was really, the first time I read it, I legitimately, obviously, because bless you. Legitimately, because obviously I knew reading this that there was another book to go, and that also there was another Fitz trilogy that, well, he's not gone. So what's gonna happen? Very Jon Snow. Very Jon Snow, but less sexy. More dirt. More feral. Love a rule breaker. We do love a rule breaker. I feel like Fitz should be dead. Is thought dead, but his soul was alive, and his wolf, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we know he wasn't dead. But like, I feel like it's quite a big flip for the chosen one trope, right? Because apart from Jon Snow, I can't actually think of another time where our hero has just been like completely defeated to the actual point of being dead, and then it's like, oh, hold on, no. So like, I feel like it takes that chosen one trope and it really just like throws it in the bin, and it's like, no, he failed this bad. This is what's at stake, because now he knows what this is like. Loved it. One of my favorite parts, it was so powerful, was Burrich. He went against everything for his boy. Nothing mattered other than his boy. It felt like the magic got super mad. Yeah. So there are obviously like a variety of places in this book, but we get so much in this book. We get so much more of the wit and the understanding of the wit. We know where the skill comes, well, roughly where the skill comes from. There's teleportation in this book. Do you know what I mean? There's dragons in this book. We got all of the magic, and I feel like the trilogy feels very kind of like, because you're in Fitz's head, he doesn't know. Other people in the world know. Like, the Fool's known since the start, but like, obviously Fitz doesn't have a clue that the world really looks like this, and so is not really wondering about it. And because you're experiencing it from Fitz's point of view, you're never sort of seeing how intensely like integral the magic is to this world. Still don't know how I feel about the resurrection, but Burgess words gutted me. Weird, it kind of felt Stephen King-ish. Oh, Fiona, I can now see why you did not enjoy this book. I loved it for what it said about Burrich's feelings for Fitz. I love the dog training of Fitz. Did feel for Burrich so much. Yeah, and I also feel like there's a lot of chat, obviously, in this trilogy because of the way that the wit is seen about what's moral and what's right and stuff. And I think it really showed through that the wit is valuable no matter what people think about it. The wit is valuable for so many different reasons. And technically, it's kind of more natural than the skill in a way. Usually hate it, but it was fascinating. Love getting Burrich's backstory with the wit. Yes. Really helped me to understand his feelings and how yes. So we finally understand why Burrich is so Burrich about everything, right? Like I feel like I should put that on a bookmark, just like so Burrich, full stop, black bookmark, white text. Like I love the concept, but my nursing brain says it's physically impossible. Magic exists here though, Gail, right? Oh, we all love Nighteyes. We'll definitely have to discuss Nighteyes. Reminds me of the Princess Bride, only mostly dead. Yes, it just went along with it. Like, yes, cool, this is happening. Yes. Yeah, well, that's one of the other things that I think is like very prominent in this series is that Robin Hobb deals very strongly with PTSD, with flashbacks, with the reality of what it is to not be able to feel yourself anymore. Like I feel like there's a lot of metaphors for depression in this series that aren't just Fitz's depression, because obviously, and I think I'm going to talk about ages later on, but Fitz is about 17 in this book from our timeline. I think last time it was mentioned he was 15, and then there's been like 2 years of events, so like 17 by the end of this at least. And so like he obviously has quite a lot of very teenage depression and like teenage angst and stuff, but I feel like there are a lot of metaphors for depression in here, and I feel like his like losing himself after all of these horrible events that have happened in his life, that was definitely one of them. I love all the interesting animal brain stuff with the wit. Yep. And Burrich has so many convictions, but in the end he can't escape being the heart of the pack. Whereas the boy, oh, the heart of the pack. Like, pick up my heart off the floor where you stood on it. Mm-hmm. Relearning how to be human again, I think, is a thing. There's definitely a theme of that. There's some of that in live ships. I feel like there's definitely a theme of like coming back to yourself and having to like relearn how to be in society. Struggle back to the parts of himself he lost that I found fascinating. Yes, I was gaslighting myself. This book would be happy even though we had the resurrection. I'm crying on page 2 at the on a bus. No, because of the description of Patience caring for his body. Oh, Patience. Patience is a badass, man. I love Patience. I kind of love that even Burrich breaking his own rules, like a real human, because exactly, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you are in a situation where it's the trolley problem, right? That's what it is. There is a group of strangers on this track. There is one of your loved ones on this track. You're driving the trolley. You have to run over one of them. We would all be hard pressed to not choose the group of strangers to run over. I mean, I outright am saying right now, I would choose my loved one. So, and I think that Burrich really likes to think in his head that he would choose the group of strangers, but actually the reality is he would choose Fitz, and he does choose Fitz again and again and again against all of his other principles. Now there would be a point in the trilogy where Burrich really had to step up for Fitz. Yes. World is growing as Fitz is growing up. Yeah, exactly. He's not self-absorbed, so he's managing. Yeah, he's managing to actually look outside of himself. We don't. I'm gonna say something you're not gonna like. I still don't like Burrich, but it's gone from intense hatred to more. Well, I suppose the Burrich discussion will definitely come in a minute, Ocean, because like I'm about to seg that way. You can see why they treat the wit as something as dangerous. Yes, and not everyone can awaken the elderlings. Yep. Otherwise, everyone who's witted could do it, and the witted would be sought out for it. Yes, and also I think it's got deeper implications for losing yourself than the skill does, because I think when you lose yourself in the skill, you, as we've seen with Verity, it's very tempting to do it, and so you kind of just waste away in your own body. Whereas when you lose yourself to the wit, there are bigger consequences, because you are becoming, there's potential for becoming savage and like completely losing yourself in that respect. It reminded me more of Bran and Summer from Game of Summer. We are generally spoilering now, so we're spoilering the whole thing. We did like a little bit at the start that was non-spoilery, Jules. So like just be aware if you're still reading, no longer appropriate discussion. Nighteyes naming Burrich Heart of the Bat. I know. Oh, Nighteyes. Shall we just talk about Nighteyes in general? I love, so one of the things that I think is interesting about the Nighteyes stuff is that because we've got like Fitz and Nighteyes merging in a way, Fitz learns in this book very much that it's sometimes being part feral, part wolf, sometimes letting that part of yourself in is valuable. Like sometimes thinking more like Nighteyes thinks about things and more like, no, this is pack and that's what we do for pack, and this is acceptable because this, and I don't know why you're wanting to cut yourself off from people because that's not pack. Like he accepts all of these things. But Nighteyes in reverse, he starts, it's like watching a dog become a cat, because dogs have two-step logic, right? Want it, can't get it. Want it, can't get it. Cats are like, want it, can't get it, solve the problem somehow. Like cats are the ones who are jumping on counters and opening doors and stuff like that. Rarely are you getting dogs doing the three-step logic of it all. And Nighteyes like forms three-step logic. He learns to plan ahead. How long was Fitz in Nighteyes? At some stage it seemed like a couple of days, but it was so hard to get him back to being a man. Implies he was a wolf longer. I don't know. I don't necessarily. I think it was just a couple of days, because I think realistically the decomposition of his body at that point would be like too much if he wasn't actually like present in it. That being said, I think because his consciousness had just like escaped, or at least this is how I read it, because his consciousness had just been in the wolf, like he'd let all those mortal concerns go. So I think it was just a couple of days, but the like mental implications went deeper. Loved wrestling with the why me thoughts. Yes, wanting to stamp his feet. Yes. Very much he proved that he was a Kingsman, right? He did exactly what he said he was going to do. I miss Patience and Lacey too. Patience is such a badass, but I will forever, my abiding thought of Lacey will be that moment where she almost stabs Fitz with knitting needles in Royal Assassin, and he's like, oh shit, I done underestimated you. I love getting tidbits of it. Yep. And everything we heard about this book made me miss them more. I know. Need a whole book following Patience and Lacey. Yes. The skill is undoubtedly more dangerous than the wit. That's interesting. Yep, that's interesting. Nighteyes had quite a bit of growth that I didn't expect. Yes, he's a perfect little freak though, right? I mean, seriously. I feel like I've never gotten fully over the bit in Royal Assassin where Nighteyes Fitz is with Molly for the first time, and Nighteyes is like, oh, cool, yeah, good for you, man. And Fitz is really like, haha, what do you mean you were listening? No listening for you. Why were you doing that? Don't do that. And Nighteyes is like, but it's pack, sure, right? And I'm like, oh, no, stop. Nighteyes is a really good character. I would have enjoyed some type of point of view from him. Yes, especially when they were on the Skill Road. Yeah, I think Nighteyes is like a sarky little demon boy. But I loved him so much more in this one. Yeah, my favorite character. Oh, I love that so much. I love that he became your favorite character. So fascinating the way that the wit humanizes the animal as much as it changes the person. That's a really good way to put it, Liz. It's a really good way to put it. Love how Nighteyes always comes. Yep, the balance fits. They fill each other's weaknesses. Oh, Nighteyes. Nighteyes and Nighteyes in the full. It made me so happy. It made me so happy. Like how it was described and acknowledged by both Nighteyes and Fitz that they were fundamentally altered by the bond. Yes. Love the glimpse of Nighteyes and Ketchikan. I do feel like Nighteyes is a little prankster though, right? He's like, in less dangerous circumstances, he'd be like a little pranking freak all the time. Patience stomping her feet to the dragon made me fall. I don't know whether I want to be or be with Patience, you know? I love that Patience's supporters are called the Ivies. Like, Patience has got her own little gang, man. Like, it definitely became more human. Yes, a better grasp on things than Fitz. Certified free for so that the pack and seeing Nighteyes develop all these varying levels of relationships. Yes. The instant respect by Nighteyes in the book. It hurts me. It hurts me so much. Do you know what I find really interesting as well? Is the difference in the way that the skill and the wit work, because fundamentally they are kind of the same thing for different things, right? So the skill and the wit are essentially the same, like, mental connection with animals or with people, right? So essentially that, if we simplify it, that's what it is. In Royal Assassin, when Fitz is learning from Verity how to carry Verity around in his mind, he describes it as walking around carrying Verity like a hawk on his arm. Whereas obviously with Nighteyes, it's so much more that he's reaching for and being reached for in return. And so I find it very interesting that he is so annoyed, he's so bothered in Royal Assassin by having Verity pop into his head, like, unasked for, having him stick around in moments that he might, like, think are personal. But Nighteyes is just fully rocking up there in the middle of a sex scene, like, yo, having fun? How you doing? How you doing? I love how Fitz and Nighteyes separate for a while so they figure out how to survive on their own. Yes, because otherwise I think they might have just slipped right into each other again. Do you know what I mean? They might have just blended. Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Yes. The plot-driven girly, yeah, but all the side characters interactions. Yes, like Phil Knight has had my entire. I'm the same. Georgia, we're the same person. I am also a plot girly. And I love side characters in books. Like, they're my jam, they're my bread and butter, they're what I want to read. But I need the plot, you know, to push me along. But I feel like with Robin Hobb, I literally would just read about, one Winterfest, we decided to go on a hike. It's an acceptance of the full. Oh, we absolutely can talk about Starling. I think that's it is a good point to kind of talk about how we feel about, like, the new cast of companion characters that we get in this one, because obviously we've got Starling and Kettle. And we have so many, like, little groups and leavings throughout this book. Personally, for me, I love Kettle. I'm just gonna say it right now. I love Kettle. But I feel personally, I hate that there are so many, like, little side glimpses of people that I don't care about in this book. And actually, that's one of my chief complaints about the live ship books, because there are a couple of characters in there that I'm just like, I could not read about you ever again and I'd be good. Like, it would be fine with me. I think if anyone's going to make you a character reader, it's Hobb, so that you hated Starling. Hello. Nighteyes curling up to the full hat. Me too. Oh, anything with a full has me. Honestly, I love this. Let's not. She made me angry constantly, so that I love Fitz discovering that Nighteyes had been playing with the children in Champy. Oh, Nighteyes, I feel like could raid Mistress Hastings's Mistress Hasty's kitchen. There we go. And I think he would get away with it because he's a little prankster, and I think everybody else would lose fingers. Someone can remind me of the point of that would be great. I feel like that with a couple of characters in these books, though. I really felt like that at a couple of points. Like, just why am I with this character? She did get me into the mountains, but she still sucked ass. Get Fitz to meet the smugglers and also for some ass. Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, Fiona. Most unexpected scene for me was the one with Fitz, the Phil and Starling. Phil's discussion on, Yeah, definitely. And that's also a thing that I want to bring up later, is just like how we feel about the Fool. And was it the Fool, something about plumbing, like, if I love you, I love you, and it doesn't matter. I liked how Nighteyes said no to being one again. Yes, Kettle is Heart Eyes, right? I love Kettle. Okay, I felt almost indifferent to them. Okay, yeah, like it just didn't really matter. You just wanted to get back to the main characters. Still sus about Kettle. I liked her, but I'm side-eyeing her. Every girl fits. Yeah, because like the thing is, Fitz is very much described, like chivalry is very much described as like everybody's doing a bit of like for chivalry, the guardsmen, the house staff, the keep staff, foreign diplomats, the people in court, everybody's a little like for chivalry. So we know chivalry is probably handsome as well as being like good with the gift of the gab. And we know what Verity looks like. Verity is very much like a solid soldier, square jawed, like all of that kind of thing. Keeps himself very trim, does Verity. So we know that, again, they're brothers. Verity's probably very handsome. But Fitz is described at several points throughout this as, although he looks like chivalry, he's described as very ordinary. And Chade's training of Fitz has also made him more ordinary. And there's a whole discussion somewhere in Royal Assassin about how he's going to keep his hair because he's just let it grow out to like a shaggy mane. And I'm like, how come now he's a stud? I mean, I know he's growing up, but how come now he's a stud, please? I was disguised. I think it was disguised as Shade. I mean, fair. Shade is like a little shit. He could pop up anywhere. Forgot about Kettlin's all right now. Starling just kept pushing boundaries even when she was told to. Yeah. I'm not a fan either. Not a fan either. She gave me the ick. Yes. Starling first, it was so sad. I was so sad to start to find her annoying. No, you're definitely not the only one. Everybody, I don't think I've ever talked to anybody who's been a big Starling fan. Loved Kettle, so grumpy and Starling. Like, yeah, like Burrich, but with good reason. Like Burrich. But I feel like I imagine Kettle in my brain to kind of look like the Lady Tremaine from Cinderella, but like in fantasy clothes, and hiking through the mountains. Love Caitlin in my styling. She was a self-made character, but she wasn't the only one. Yep, and she helped Fitz with his role as a catalyst. This is true. This book does serve up some ick moments, including Burrich referring to Molly as a horse while she was giving birth, which, okay, boy, whatever gets you through. It's a noise at Starling most of the time. Kit was fine, which is pissing me off. She kept scolding Fitz for being stupid or naive, but withheld information. This is true. Although I would also scold Fitz for being stupid and naive because he really is a lot of the time. When she discusses her essay and subsequent pregnancy, made me feel for her. Yeah, that's fair. I felt indifferent to both of them. Yep. Fitz helping Kettle through with her past. I know, it's sad. Puppy, what are you doing? Got a wandering puppy. I think Kettle was interesting, but her revelations came too little too. Yeah, that's also perfectly fair summary of her plotline. Struggle with new characters coming in at the end of a trilogy. Yeah, I mean, I know why it had to happen. I know why we needed them, but I also felt like there are some elements of convenience in this book that I don't enjoy, and I feel like they don't really follow through to any other books in the series. Pretty much every other character in any other book in the series really has to work for it. Like really has to work for it. But I feel like Fitz got given a few things just as like freebies in this one. Joy having a stronger older woman in Kettle, but not enough of them in fiction. Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I like Kettle. I like the fact that she's older and she's still a badass. I'm conflicted that Fitz doesn't think of himself as attractive, but he must be absolutely right. I think that's true. I mean, there's that bit in Royal Assassin as well where he goes on the ship for the first time and he's sleeping with Molly on the sly, and he came back and he was like, even Molly remarked that I was getting like nice arms from all the rowing. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that definitely feels very teenage boy. Fiona, the amount of attention he gets, surely he's hot. I mean, there's not a lot else to recommend him in a few places. Up, go get dad. There's not a lot to recommend him in a few other places. So, I mean, he can occasionally be like an incredibly like dumb, self-centered boy. So maybe he is handsome. Maybe he definitely is. If it's not a reliable narrator and he seems to have low self-esteem, yeah, that's also about Molly and Burrich. I knew that this was going to pop up at some point because I have a pick. Okay, so yeah, we can talk about Molly and Burrich. One thing that I do want to say is I did some research for this part, because I knew that this was obviously gonna come up at some point, and I wanted to make sure that I was accurate with this. So age-wise, Fitz is about 17 at this point. However, Molly is older than Fitz. Molly was older. We were told very clearly that Molly's a few years older than Fitz. So Molly's already older than Fitz for a start. And also, it should be like, I should point out that although Burrich, Robin Hobb kind of has a tendency to make all her characters into old men prematurely, all her male characters, because she also, I mean, obviously, by the end of this book, Fitz has been through a lot physically. You know, he's been poisoned a couple of times. He's been dead. He's been beaten up a bunch of times. He's been hit on the head. He's been taking elf bark most of his life. So it makes sense by the end of Assassin's Quest why he's like, my bones are creaky and I feel used up and I feel like I'm tired and whatever. So it makes a lot of sense. However, we have to remember that Burrich is about 30 to 35. Like, Burrich is like 30 to 35. Chivalry was about the same age. We came to Fitz when he was a baby, and these guys were just coming. These were princes in waiting. So yes, there is an age gap, but and I'm not advocating age gaps. I'm not saying the age gaps are okay. I'm not saying the age gaps are my jam. Again, like Beth said, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, but like, I'm not advocating for age gaps, but there is less of an age gap than it is initially like obvious that there is. But we can absolutely talk about Molly and Burrich. Personally, we all know that my personal opinion is that Chivalry and Burrich were deeply in love, and that my end game would have been Chivalry, Patience, and Burrich, and Burrich and Patience would have been my end game if not. However, I do still kind of think it makes sense because especially for like the old-timey fantasy environment that they were in, Molly was completely without anything. She was without any protection. She was without any means to keep her child safe. And so Burrich did the thing that I think he found honorable to do. And then the feelings, I'm assuming, came later. Hold on, where did I get to? Molly and Burrich had served these Farseer men their entire lives. Yep, Chivalry left Burrich and Fitz chose Verity. It's succinctly, this is also what it is. I mean, while Burrich is never going to say anything against his kings or the Farseer line or anything, I think by the time that we get to Assassin's Quest, Burrich has started to kind of go, hold on a minute, I've been like a kingsman my entire life, just like Fitz, and I've chosen again and again and again to like put myself in the back burner, and look at what it's done to me. Look at what it's done to me. And Yeah, so I'm not angry with him for it. We all know that I don't love Molly. I don't hate Molly, but I don't love Molly. I find Molly like aggressively annoying and very insipidly written compared to a lot of the other characters in here, including like Ketrigan and stuff like that, who arguably gets just as much page time as Molly. Um, and yet somehow Molly still seems like I feel nothing for her. But yeah, I think this is a really good point. Surely since he opens his mouth, any advantage his face or body brings him is ripped out from under. Like find someone absolutely, but not Burrich. I don't know if they could survive being with people who don't know the world they've escaped. That's also a really good point, Sarah. There's very few other people in the world who's going to understand the experience that they've gone through or understand who Nettle is and what she's going to face as well. It's another reason I'm pro Molly and Burrich, yes. Hello, Stephanie, welcome in. Couldn't do it. I hate the trope. As in, like, the age gap, like, romance trope. It was so sad in the end that they didn't know Fitz. I know. We're both grieving. Yes. Scene that broke me was when Fitz tried to go back to Molly when he found out about the baby. Oh my god. And he chooses king and he chooses a realm, and that's really, again, it's a very Jon Snow moment, right? Like he chooses his duty. But I also think he trusts Burrich to look after the kid. I'm kind of hoping that we're done with Bolly and Burrich. Burrich and Molly. I like their stories, but I kind of feel done with them. Fair. I'm never going to be done with Daddy Burrich, but I understand. Or the best friend and lover get together after the main character dies trope. Okay, I don't read enough romance that I did not know that was actually a trope. I'm a bit disturbed that that's a thing. Age gap didn't bother me. What bothered me is his Burrich was Fitz's guardian. Yeah, so he was kind of like his dad. Yeah, I mean that's fair. Fitz has so many father figures throughout these books. Like he's lost chivalry, but he has. I mean, you're not saying he's a good one, but he has Shrewd. He has Burrich. He then has Verity. He has Chade. Do you know what I mean? He has Patience, who really does fill the role that his dad should have been filling all those years, like teaching him court etiquette and all that kind of stuff. He's got Patience to do that. They're like, again, he was brought up by the keep staff. So there is Mistress Hasty and there's Hob and, you know, like Hod and stuff like that. So like those people also provided him with role models. But I understand what you mean when you're like, this is an ick, because it was like literally Daddy Burrich. Age gap gives me the ick personally, but I kind of understand why it happened. Yep. And didn't mind Burrich and Molly. Long term, will it work with Fitz of Ghost in the room forever? Probably not, but at least the baby has legitimacy and a dad, yeah, which in this world again is a massive thing. And I love it, but I feel like it kind of makes sense that they're both grieving and Fitz is the link between them. Yep, kind of heat the emotions kind of thing. Yes. I get it, but I understand it, but I don't like it. I'm happy that Burrich has someone. Yeah, I have very conflicted feelings about it as well, Sophie. Like, I think it makes sense. I sound like I'm advocating for it a lot and like I'm really shipping this, but I'm not, obviously. Like, they're not, none of those were my end games, but I understand why it happened. It gets clear that Burrich is just trying to care for Molly and the baby. Yep, and in that environment, they did what they needed to do. Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree, every character in this book has at some point done exactly what they needed to do to survive, right? It's almost waiting for a real the baby Molly had was actually Burrich's and not Fitz's. Yeah, definitely not though. Because can we just talk about the fact that Fitz at this point is like technically father of two? Because look, I understand that they swapped bodies and that it was Verity that was in Fitz's head when he had his last night with Ketrigan and she got pregnant with Prince Dutiful, which by the way, don't love the name. And like there is a line somewhere that's like, oh, Dutiful looks very like Verity, but Fitz looks very like Verity. It's his uncle. Fitz looks very like Verity. So I'm like, can we just talk about the fact that somehow Fitz has become like everybody's baby daddy? Molly needed stability and an honest man. Yes. I love Fitz, but he provided no stability in her life. Yes, and he let her down a bunch of times. He promised to marry her. He promised to give up everything for her until he realized that he couldn't. He promised her so many compromises to what she needed and wanted, and never ever, for whatever reason, doesn't matter why, but never ever delivered on any of those. Don't love the pairing, but I understand it. Yep, I think they've shared grief. They've developed a closeness and trying to survive together. Yeah. It's not the age gap. I do think this being consistently in each other's company for more than a year. Feelings are bound. Yeah, especially when they're pretty much isolated, right? They are the only company for each other. Don't care either way for the couple. Yeah, I think it. Oh, yeah, I agree. I also think it was introduced badly. Yep, like Fitz not noticing it, his skill visions made it seem really abrupt. Yeah, I feel that. So I think Burrich feels an obligation to Molly. Yes, he believes Fitz is dead and he lets himself run with it because his purpose is lost and he needs a new one. Yes, and also he's filling in on obligation because regardless of anything else, Burrich is an honourable guy. You know, if Burrich, I mean, clearly Burrich is liked by the ladies. That's mentioned a few times in the first two books that Burrich is kind of a looker, and I'm sure his bed's not cold. However, I'm also pretty sure that if he got somebody pregnant, he'd marry her. And Fitz did not do this, you know? And so it's another duty that, as he sees it, that Fitz has abandoned. I don't love it, but it makes sense they've come together. I just don't really want to have to revisit it in the future. Yeah, like, I see it, I understand it, I don't want to look at it again. Like that, fine. I will say what bees were maybe my... Oh, well, I mean, but that's a question, right? Were the bees witted? Or does Molly just understand the behavior of the bees? But that was a badass moment. Like, let's be perfect. That was a badass moment. He definitely blames himself when he thinks Fitz is dead. Yep, so he didn't see another choice. But try to make it up to Molly and the baby. Yeah. I also don't like how Burrich handled Fitz as a kid. So I don't want to imagine how he would treat Nettle and other kids. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. But we also know that Burrich is unlikely to have been raised... Burrich never mentions his parents, never mentions a sibling, never mentions any kind of back. So we don't know. We don't know how he was dragged up. And he's worked, as far as anybody knows, he's worked in the stables like his whole adult life. So where did he come from? How was he raised? And I'm not saying yay for generational trauma, but I am saying, you know, we don't know what Burrich's childhood looked like, really. When I read it, I felt like Burrich did it for the baby. Yeah, I think how he handled Fitz was wrong. I'm way behind in the comments, so I'm going to pop ahead a little bit. Yes, also this, he didn't have a baby himself. Molly's experience with her father and the glimpses we see of Burrich and Kettle. Yeah, I think it'll be a very loved baby. I agree. Can understand why, but it's my least favourite trope. Don't hit on your lovers for all intents, father figure. Try to learn how to look after a human with no experience. There's a huge difference. See Burrich. We will see Fitz at 6 and Nettle as a newborn. Yeah, that's very true as well. That's very true. It's like, again, there's that whole thing as well where you're a better parent to your second child than you are to your first because you've learned so many things that you've done wrong, and then you can, you know, yeah. Be interesting to see what would happen if Nettle had the wit. It would be very interesting to see. Burrich raised Fitz as he would an animal. I feel like he's sucking the baby. Yes. Still love the idea of Mollich and Burry, but it makes sense. Yeah. Especially, yeah, they have no idea that he's alive yet. Yes, Burrich deserves happiness. Yes, Daddy Burrich deserves to be happy. The way that Ocean is just sitting here like, but, yeah, right. Fitz is definitely Prince Dutiful's daddy, which is interesting because, again, if we come back to the whole like prophecy thing and the catalyst and the Fool very much said in Royal Assassin, when he tried to explain things to Fitz and Fitz was being dense about it, that even before we found out he was the White Prophet, that he was sent to a time, he chose a time in history, and he chose a thread to tug on, and the thread that he chose to tug was Fitz, because if the Farseer line ends, then catastrophe happens, right? However, There's this moment where obviously for the fool as well, he thinks Fitz is dead and everything's bad and all of that kind of stuff. And then it's suddenly like, oh, never mind, Farsi Airline definitely not dead. We've got two options now. You're good. You know? It was like when Fitz found out Burrich and Molly are together, it was heartbreaking, yeah. And also Fitz understood and appreciated. Yeah, that's it, I guess, from Fitz's point of view as well. I doubt it was Verity's DNA that was used when Kate got Gertrude pregnant. Does Fitz father every baby we see in this series? I could not possibly comment. Absolutely not rely on Fitz if he would. No, no. He is a one night fly by night man. It's Farsi or baby of some type. Either way, I'm trying not to think about it. Verity and Fitz was so ick. It was Verity being in Fitz's head was way worse for me than Nighteyes being in Fitz's head, because like I don't know, there's so much ick. Right, Fitz reminded me oh my love, my darling. Oh, okay. Who knew that was going to come up in this live show? I thought I didn't understand what really happened with switcheroo between Fitz and Verity, but apparently I did. It is Fitz's body. You did read it right, Marina. Oh, you really did. How did Ketchum feel looking at Fitz? Oh, I think there is a line though, isn't there, at some point, Gabby, where like I'm sure there is a line where Fitz says something like, she looked at me and like not winked, but like she kind of gave him the side eye in the I'm sure there's a line where that happens. Sexture and body switch typically gives me the ick, yes, but I appreciate that there was well, this is it, right? Because so many times this is used and it's gross. Like last year I read Several People Are Typing, and there was a straight up body switch where the person openly did not consent. Like there was no consent on either side, and it happened, and then they were just supposed to get over it, and it was cool. And I was like, no, I don't like it at all. Relationships kept the same boxes. I keep Nighteyes peeping. Nah, it's grimmer for me somehow. Nettle is a great name, right? I know, but I do not see. That's not really discussing the switch after it happened as an internal monologue. Makes me wonder if it's something he didn't really come to terms with. Yeah, that's interesting as well, Jules. Like he actually has some trauma about that, especially because Molly was his one and only up until that point. So he, his body was used without consent, and there's no real conversation about like where he was in his consciousness, whether he was fully in Verity's body or like, there's no real conversation about how much he has memory-wise or if he has any. So yeah, Burrich raising a Farsi or heir is different to how he would raise a regular baby. That's a good point as well, because he knows that it's yeah, we get a little bit of history, but I honestly don't remember how much, but it is only like a tiny mention though, right? Let me say, I don't begrudge Molly for finding someone else. I'm just grossed out with Burrich. Poor Ocean. I feel like you just suffered through the Burrich of everything. Molly created the Burrich. No. Fitz is apparently trying single-handedly make sure the line doesn't end, yet like I will. Jeremy Kyle. Oh my god. I still say the fullest doctor. How did we feel about the fool in this one? Because like there is so again, one of the things that I had in my notes is that there is a lot of gender stuff in this book. So there is like quite a few. I mean, we have had throughout the series up until this point, we have had a lot of chat about how people can't tell what the fool is and like what the fool is, what gender the fool is, and also that people are, because obviously like the fool, just because nobody knows who the fool is or where the fool came from, and because some people are creeped out by the fool, doesn't mean that the fool is some kind of asexual creature, because in or ace creature rather, because in Royal Assassin, when he takes the piss out of Fitz and he does that big like he does like a big parody moment where he sings a song and he talks about how daft Fitz is, and he like comes on to Fitz and he ends by like showing Fitz his bare backside. He's not he's just because nobody knows what gender he is, he doesn't mean that he isn't interested in stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Similarly, it doesn't mean that he is. Like, he's a complete enigma wrapped in a mystery, and I love that. Like, I love him so much. Ketchikan definitely hinted that if Verity wasn't there, she would join the long line of the fish. Grim. Yeah, we'll get to. Yeah, that's my last point. That is my last point. The dragons are my last, like, because I have thoughts and feelings. I love the full new character favorite unlocked. The full is 110% my favorite character from this series. 110%. The full is in the 6-star league with Verity, yes, and Burrich. Sorry, Ocean, and Daddy Burrich. So many interesting things revealed about the fool. So I love him so much. I love how cheeky he is, regardless of the bad stuff happening. You know, I love how cheeky. The reunion with Fitz made me actually cry. Me too. I threw things. Me too. Phil sometimes feels like the only brain. That's so accurate. The only character who actually thinks things through. Love the Phil's revelations and development. I honestly, this week I have walked about like calling my cat Fitz by all of the nicknames that the Phil calls Fitz. The amount of times I've been like, "How are you, Fitzy Fitz?" And I absolutely love the narrators, the audiobook narrator's voice for the Phil. Like, I love it so much. There were many instances that Verity just bulldozed into situations so much. I feel like it's possible to say that the ending of this book didn't need to be the ending of this book if Verity had actually stopped and thought for 5 minutes. Because again, it feels very much like he is soldier Verity. It feels very much like he is a very blunt instrument a lot of the time. And it's really like, if you just talk to somebody about this, like, boy, if you just told people your feelings, then maybe none of this would have had to happen the way that it happened. Phil got so much more interesting for me in this one. All the things we learned, yes, Phil was my favorite in this book. I love it so much. I was so impressed with the discussions, right? Yes, especially it being published in the 90s. I feel like Robin Hobb pushes so many boundaries in this series in general. Like, I can't wait till you guys get to the second Fitz trilogy, because like, I feel like she really pushes the envelope with a bunch of stuff that for 90s fantasy and then early 2000s fantasy that just nobody else was doing or saying was okay. The full Fitz and Nighteyes are my faves. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Fitz. I genuinely do. I do love him dearly, but my God. He's very much like that little brother you just want to throttle. I loved the Phil so much. I think the moment Fitz and Phil were reunited and they realised who the other was. Was that the only time you guys cried during this book? Because I cry hard at the end of this book every time. The gender conversation with Fitz and Phil, talking about it. Yeah, that's it. That's right, Gail. I couldn't think of the exact quote, but it's only plumbing. If I love you, I love you. Like, I didn't like the Phil. I didn't like that the Phil was so less enigmatic. Oh, it felt like a completely different character. That's an interesting take on it. Yeah, it wasn't. He wasn't as like soothsaying-y, I guess. Phil became better. Honestly, Nighteyes, I swear to God. When we found out that Phil had been thinking he failed the whole time, I know. I kind of love that he called Fitz his catalyst, not just the catalyst, but like his catalyst. Starling is insinuating multiple times Phil has to be a woman because he's in love with Fitz. It wasn't, oh my God, was annoying, but I also love the way that nobody else thinks that. And I think that Starling's point of view is put there to make you go, do you know what I mean? Like, I think that Starling's point of view is put there in that situation to make you side-eye the fact that she's insinuating this, because in her limited, like, scope, she thinks that the only way that this could happen is because he's a woman. Like, he can't be a man, or he can't be intersex, or any of those things, and love Fitz. But really, Starling's kind of the only person that implies that. It's my favourite character. Yeah, it's so precious. Yes. I feel being so attached to his room and house and keeping his space his own is interesting, and perhaps leans into some of his upbringing. Oh, there's that. My favorite bit of the Fool ever is, and I didn't want to draw attention to this last time because obviously it plays into this time, but is in Royal Assassin, where he is talking. He finally says to Fitz kind of where he comes from, and that he was brought up in a poly situation with 3 parents, and he was, I think his exact words are like, and he's talking about himself in like the third person, and he's like, he was so cherished, like he was so cherished, and I was like, like, he was so loved, and then he left all that and he came here, and look at how he's treated here. Fool's amazing. The Fool is amazing. Like that the Fool had time and space to have a life and develop his own interests. Yes. Fitz is Fitz after Fitz in the books. I similarly want to throttle the cat just as much as I want to throttle Fitz. Absolutely love the Fool, and the Fool wouldn't abandon girl. the image of Fool with Girl on a Dragon. Oh my god, it's so funny. I reread the scene with Kettrick, and she just smiled at Fitz radiantly, and then he hurried past her. Yes, thank you, Beth, for doing the work there. I knew there was a look. I knew there was there was a moment of wrecking. Like, I done saw what you were packing, boy. Like, now I see why there's a line. Can I say the bit where the Fool is the one who betrays Fitz? Yeah, I thought that it was clear that Regal's lot was listening. The reveal he was a traitor was underwhelming. I thought there was more. Yeah, I also feel like, so I guess that's the thing to mention about the pacing and the plotting in this book. This is the first one of what I feel like is Robin Hobbs. My brain thinks on a vaster scale than I am able to put into one book. This book was massive. It was mammoth, and yet some things are not satisfyingly or adequately tied up at the end for me, and I struggle with it sometimes because I feel like there were quite a few things like this where it was like, oh, okay. And that, I guess, brings me to dragons, because there's so much walking. This is the book of walking. It is the book of walking, and then we get to the Skill Road, and we start, and then the magic happens, and it all happens like very quickly. Suddenly we're teleporting with pillars, and there's skill stones, and there's carved dragons, and then we find out that they're elderlings, and then we find out that you need the skill and the wit, and then it's just like, oh my god. And it happens in so few pages as compared to the rest of the book that I struggle with that. And Fitz went to scrub himself in the freezing river, which implies trauma. I didn't cry. Somehow, Ocean, I'm not surprised. Quite so many moments. And always in traffic. Just people thinking you're just like sobbing on your way to work or something, but it's actually just something dumb that Fitz did. I almost cry when Fitz and Phil touched minds, and the Phil realised Fitz still loved him and didn't blame him. Do you think the Phil's becoming more human and less sincere as he gains more colour? Couldn't possibly comment. Got teary a bunch of times, but the only actual crying was at the end. Yeah, there were a couple of times I lost it, not gonna lie, but I always cry at the end of this one. Cried through most of the ending was very Verity, my Verity. The bit where he said, despite everything I've done, I've always loved you. I hate it here. I was bawling at Fitz in the full realization moment. Yes, I cried a couple of times elsewhere, but that moment in particular would be the standout. Oh my god, so very that. There's also a bit. There's also, it's slipping my mind right now, but there's a Burrich Fitz bit where Burrich is kind of like he lets Fitz out of the doghouse for something, and Fitz realizes like how alone he's felt. And I'm like, oh, that gets me. That gets me. And Shade's mad with him as well. Like, oh, that bit gets me too. I wonder how much of the fool appearing smart is because it's being written from the future. I'm just saying. She should have taken out one attempt at Regal's life at the start to save some pages. Oh my god. And the disguises. Yes, nobody's going to remember what you look like. Sure. You've changed so much. Pacing was off for me. Yeah, I agree. The ending came out of nowhere, and I needed the defeat of Regal and Will to last more than a page. Definitely. And also, do you know what I find so interesting about that? That's one of my notes as well. So obviously there is the part where Fitz chooses not to assassinate Regal, right? He chooses not to kill Regal. He chooses what he thinks, I think, is a worse fate for him, is the loss of all of his will, even though Regal's not really going to feel it because he's not really in his head anymore. When he's compelled to like be loyal to the Farseer line, restore the keep, look after Ketchikan, all of that kind of stuff, he no longer is really himself to know that he's doing it, I think. So it's not like massively a punishment for him, but it's a satisfying thing for Fitz. And it's also, I think, what Fitz thinks is right. Like, no more killing. Killing doesn't solve everything. And that's a thing we've very much learned because he was bred to be an assassin, right? He was literally brought up to be an assassin from the minute he got there. And he learns that like killing people is not always the solution. However, it reminds me so much of this line from I think it is Red Dragon by Thomas Harris, when Hannibal says he's locked up after he's been caught, and they know that he's a serial killer and he's done all these things, and they're keeping him in this room, and he's like, any rational society would kill me or put me to good use. And I'm like, damn, that's exactly what you did. But then Chade deciding that, because you like, who's thinking this was just a random large rat weasel killing, and who's thinking that Chade went, yeah, you know, you've done too much damage. I don't care if you're compelled. I don't trust you. You gotta go. Like, what are our thoughts on this? I did end up finding a synopsis, which I had to read to check my understanding of the Elderlings. Yes, it was verging on info dumpy. Another reason I'm glad for the chapter intros immediately. Yes, very much so. The very first time that I read this book, I read this bit twice, and I still don't think that I fully understood it. And it took me looking up the wiki to be like, oh, okay, right, I get it. It is very confusing. I'd say very dying to make a dragon and Fitz finding out how to wake them like 30 minutes later brought this book down so much, and the fact that no one points it out, yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the way that it wraps up, I will say. I thought harnessing all of Regal's great politicking for the right ear was a great subversion of an ending, and then to just have that last long enough to get dutiful on the throne, yeah. I think the dragon still needed to be filled with memories and emotions and such. And then the touch of the wit skill woke them up fully. Yeah, I still disliked it. Like, I still disliked it a lot. I feel like, I don't know. How do we feel about Regal's End? Like, how do we feel about that? And at the end, Fitz kept his promise to Jade. He definitely did. Jade was definitely up to all the things during the time he was not mentioned. And I love, basically, he's turned himself into royalty. Like, he's Lord Jade then, right? Like, it's still shit, but I think it needed to have. I like to believe it was the little ferret because it was funnier. Well, little ferret or old weasel, blood weasel, because Slink died. There's a line that's like, there's a line in one of the summaries. In one of the summaries at the start of a chapter where Fitz says something like, I was saddened to learn about the passing of Slink. Regal is a man-child who was never told no. Oops. I think it's a fantasy newbie. I was with her for all the weirdness with the dragons. I also think it depends on how you feel about dragons, right? Because me personally, I'm a fantasy person who, what I like my dragons to be is animals. Like a wolf is an animal, or I don't know, a raven is an animal or anything. I like them to be animals with animal sensibilities. I don't want them to be like old wise sages. I don't want them to, like, Naomi Novik's Temrir books are an outlier for me, which, by the way, Sarah, I think you would absolutely love. Just saying. I think you would love them. They are historical, like, retakes on the Napoleonic Wars, but with dragons. Those are outlier books for me because those are sentient dragons who have conversations and feelings and, like, actually talk and stuff. I usually can't stand that in fantasy. I hate it. And so this interpretation of dragons, for me, them needing to have memories and all that kind of stuff, that was kind of like a half and half for me. I could have done without dragons in this world, and yet the Rain Wilds books are, if out of the Fitz books are my favorites, but out of the two like different series where we're not following Fitz, the Rain Wilds are my favorite. So it's just, I don't love the end of Regal, but again, he's not my favorite villain. Started a bit when I was getting confused with Regal and Verity, so I had to call Regal Rotten Regal. Oh my god, I feel like that also needs to go on a bookmark, Rotten Regal. I love that so much. I wasn't happy with how Regal ended up abdicating and then mysteriously dying. Yeah. I think it was a ferret or weasel that say Fitz from Will. I think so, Gabby. Regal needed a different resolution. I don't know what, but I just felt a bit meh about it. Okay, right. That's it. Yes. I thought him being forced out dutiful was a great ending, and I hated that he was killed so shortly afterwards. Yeah, it felt like Hobb was trying to have the best of both worlds. I think that's definitely fair. I think that's a definitely fair interpretation of that. I like very few dragons in books, yes, but I love the Elderlings. Biting tongue for future spoilers, yeah, shh, Gail, shh. I think I'm mostly just relieved that Regal's reign of terror was over and everyone was safe from him. Yep. So I'm not gonna lie, it's scary to make bookmarks for existing series because there is so much out there trademarking. But I will try. When I open my own website and I'm no longer selling on Etsy, I'll have a little bit less worry about such things. However, everybody was begging me a couple of years ago for Gilmore Girls merch, and I did a run of Gilmore Girls stuff, and somebody reported me. Warner Brothers didn't find me. It was somebody reported me, and I got a strike notice for that. So some people are not kind. That being said, Robin Hobb does not have a history of going after people who do fan art, so it should be fine. I cannot wait to get to Rumors. See if we differ like live chats. I'm hoping not, because I want to love them all. Yeah, and also, like, I feel like, and I think if you look at them together as well, I like to think of Rainwild as two Mahusive books that got split into 4 because they were too long. And I think it helps when we get to Rainwild if you think about them that way as well. I didn't like Regal's whole character progression in this book. I feel like Hobb was undecided on how to portray him yet or what to do with him. I will say that she's far less undecided about future villains. I would custom order a proud birch hair, bring Ocean, you are trash. I'm not a dragon person, but like the idea of having to sacrifice so much to get one. Yes, this was good, because that is one thing that I will say that Hobb does really well, is that, like, big things like that have big consequences. Big consequences. I would say yes if you're capable of doing it, because obviously that's why it's spread out like one every 2 months, because they are long. But if you are capable of doing it and then waiting for the live shows, I would say reading 1 and 2 together and then 3 and 4 together really helps the reading experience. Like really, really helps. Okay, so my last big question then, really, I think, because I think we've covered most of my stuff, is do you have any future predictions for the next Fits in the Fool trilogy? I can never remember what one, Fool's Errand. Do we have any predictions for the future? Because obviously, like, Live Ship Traders is a different plot, different point in the world, a different place, different characters, but we do see some of the same politics and some of the same, like, consequences follow through. Does anybody have any predictions or anything that they would like to see? Anything you're hoping will come back in the next set? Anything that you're hoping will get cleared up that you'll feel better about? No, I have more objection to skipping ahead. I do not. I have no thoughts. Head empty. My heart getting broken. I also wonder if there wasn't a contract for the whole series when book 3 was written. That's why the ending was that way. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I actually feel like the issue with the plotting of book 3 could have been solved by there being a book 4. I think there's quite a lot of emphasis in fantasy about there being the 3-part trilogy and that being the format and stuff. And obviously, like I say, Rain Wilds is clearly 2 books that's been split into 4 for the sake of these are too big. So yeah, I think there's that. Oh, before we go, I'll go and grab the special edition so you guys can see the illustrations. Hold on. Excuse me, Fitzy. I'm sorry. Nearly done. Harry's like, have you died? I'm like, I'm nearly done, I swear. They live out in the hall now. Oh, me and my ankle of brokenness do not like walking. There are a lot of illustrations in this one, so let me just make sure I do not skip any of them. That one, no. It's annoying to me that the chapter bits in this one are blacked out, so it's hard to tell where the illustrations are. There's one. Is that the... Oh, okay, we've got a couple back to back. That's why I couldn't remember how they were bound into this one. Okay, so we've got this one first. Hard to see if I'm showing you them properly. So we've got this one first. Very much a Nighteyes and Fitz staring off into the distance one. Closely followed by everybody's favorite person. Everybody's favorite. We like to cause the dramas. Right. Where's the next one? Is that it? No. Is it just... Oh, there it is. Okay. Then there's the famous one. I think this is one of my favorite illustrations from the whole illustrated editions. I just think it's stunning. He does definitely look older than he's meant to at this point, but I don't mind. You know, I don't mind. It's okay. Aussies, nosies. Oh. Hands dipped in the Skill River. Wait, is that wonky? There we go. Hands dipped in the Skill River. A skill pillar. Is that the last one? No, there's more at the back, I'm sure. Sure, there's more than that. Yeah, there are. There's another whole bunch there. There be dragons in the background. There be dragons. There be more dragons. Woken up dragons. Oh man. I hate it here. I hate it here. Meh. Can't convince me that anything that happened there was okay. Cavalry. Hi, baby boy. I think that's the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. Yeah, my only issue with these editions, and I said this last time in the live show, is that so the first two were brought out with the like shiny hardback, like no dust jacketed shiny hardback. This one, the third one, is canvas. Annoying, but fine, and the spines are all flat. If you buy the new editions, the second wave of printing, they're all canvas, but the spine of this one is flat and the spine of the first two is round, like actually rounded, so that you can open it fully flat, which makes less sense when this one is the big chunker. It's very annoying. Pardon. Where do we get to? Many tears. It better involves a fool. What's the point of view situation from the Rainwilds books, Georgia? Are you asking? I would definitely like to cry. I would definitely like to cry. I'm scared to predict. As someone on your sprints mentioned something in live ships, and now I'm scared if someone accidentally says something true. Yeah, that's very annoys me when people do that, because we're all from the book community and we're all very aware that when we're, especially when we're talking about like this book, this, oh my god, why can't I make it happen? This book. I worked out when we're talking about this book that there's many books in the future that we've all read, you know what I mean? And I'm very careful to keep my future predictions to myself because I know things. But that's just rude, man. It's just rude. Cannot say as I have read this book. It's gonna be my where's gonna be my first Hobsob? Oh my god, Hobsob is another one that needs to be on a bookmark. I worry with the only tears will be if you accidentally drop one of the Liveshow books. No idea what's gonna happen or even when it's happening in the timeline of their world. Yes. I'd like to go back to Buckkeep. Oh, I love Buckkeep. I think it's my favourite place in all of the books. Need more moments of people appreciating the fool. That's fair. Prediction. I think my heart will be broken multiple times. Also more politics since we are dealing with adults. Yeah, that's definitely, yeah, can confirm it was a big ouch. Oh, but Sir feels earned because you and this read along have unleashed a monster. And oh no, you're so far ahead. Seeing the illustrations is so bad. I'm also heartbroken that that's the last of the illustrations. It's really sad. Normally a big crier in books of life, and it'll happen. It will happen. Started to type, but even though not spoilers, but could spoil a first read. Yeah, please no, please no. I want to see the fallout from the babies. The reality of Ketchum pretending Fitz isn't the dad, and Bolly. Why do I keep doing that? Bollybar. That's clearly their ship name, Bolly. Forgot Starling was from Brock, and I imagined her blonde because of her name. I'm here for the baby daddy drama, essentially. Scenes stress me out when reading. Yes, I want Fitz and Patience reunion. They are beautiful, right? They are gorgeous. I love that dragons weren't typical dragons. Yeah, we hate typical dragons. Okay, well, we've had a long one this time. This has been a long discussion this time around. Thank you guys so very much for showing up. As Let me have a look. I don't think I've got anything on the calendar for what are we, July, August. I don't think I've got anything on the calendar right now. So all things being equal, the live show for Fool's Errand should be like this one was in the first week of the, well, this one was meant to be the first week of the month, but pretty much the first week of the month. So I will let you guys know as far in advance as I possibly can. Thank you so much for joining in and making these live shows so much fun to have discussions in. Like, it just makes me so happy that you guys are as excited for these books as I am, and as excited for like reading this whole big chunky trilogy. I know it's a journey, but it's a fun one. I also hope that you enjoy the Live Ship Traders books, and I cannot wait to see what you think about the first one next time. Again, thank you guys so much for showing up and making this awful awesome. Wow, I need to go to bed. And I will see you next time. Bye.